On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're visiting a glamorous 500 square foot studio apartment in New York City that is filled with vintage finds and creative DIY projects. But first, a big thank you to Helix for sponsoring today's Homeworthy episode. As to be expected, this little guy has wreaked havoc on my regular sleep pattern. So even though I'm getting fewer hours than normal, I know that when I do sleep, I'm getting a solid snooze since switching to a Helix mattress. The company makes premium mattresses and bedding that are customized to fit your needs and conveniently ship right to your door. I took their easy online quiz to figure out which mattress would be best for my sleep preferences and my husband's, and we matched with the Helix Dusk Luxe. Say that 3 times fast. And so it was out with the old flimsy mattress and in with the new. The mattress is amazing because it's great for both back and stomach sleepers. So if you're looking for a new bed, check out Helix. Click on the link below or go to helixsleep.com/homeworthy for up to $200 off your Helix Sleep mattress plus 2 free pillows. Happy slumbering! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Natalie. Welcome to my Upper East Side apartment. Come on in. Hi, I'm Natalie Aldridge. I'm an interior designer and artist based in New York City. I'm here in my Upper East Side apartment. I can't wait to show you around. My apartment is 500 square feet, so it's a little tight, but I make it work and I absolutely love it. So I originally came from Wisconsin. I was born and raised just outside of Milwaukee, and I grew up loving New York and traveling a lot with my father, and I knew as soon as I could, I would move to New York. So at 18, I moved to New York City, and I attended Parsons School of Design, where I studied both interior design and business. And I've been here ever since, and I absolutely love living in New York. Of course, it's trying, but I can't imagine living anywhere else. And I've lived mostly on the Upper East Side. I love Uptown. I feel very at home here. It feels very old school and old New York. That's what I love about New York, and that sort of like old swan era of 1950s, 60s is what draws me to the Upper East Side. So we are in my foyer, my very narrow foyer, which is also a gallery wall space. And I have a few things that I've done. This is one of my paintings. And I'd like to point out that it's colonial men, and one of them is wearing Crocs. So this is actually a wallpaper sample that I got from the showroom. I just swiped one because I knew I wanted to frame it. So I just went in and I need a sample of XYZ and cut it out. This is an old watercolor that I found on eBay, actually. I grew up playing tennis, and I was a very active tennis player throughout high school. I played on varsity tennis team, and I don't play anymore, so this is my homage to tennis. And this is like one of my favorite drawings, and some of these things actually don't have any meaning to them. I just absolutely love them, and I found them, I think this cost me like $5, and I just think it's so great. And this is by one of my favorite photographers. It's of an abandoned palace in Eastern Europe, and I just think it's so beautiful. I absolutely adore abandoned spaces. I think they're so beautiful, the way things decay and sort of add to the space. I just adore it. My Upper East Side apartment is 500 square feet, and it is also rental. So I moved into the space with your typical rental light fixtures and painting and woodwork and finishes like that. But even so, I like to invest in my space and make it my own, and particularly invest in furnishings and other pieces I know I'll have with me for a long time. So that way, when I eventually get into a space that I can really make my own and do all of the interior work, I'll still have all those beautiful things that I've collected with me throughout the years. My favorite thing about this apartment has to be the light. I feel like that's a little bit of a cliche thing to say, but it really is a sunny apartment, and it brings so much joy and happiness into the space and feels like a breath of fresh air waking up in the morning and hanging out in the space. I feel like is really nice versus in a small apartment, it could be very cramped if you didn't have a lot of space and light to move around in. So I also love this apartment because I adore my building. It is a family building, and there's lots of old people that live in this building too, which I absolutely love. I have such an affinity for old people. So I try to make friends with all the old people in my building, and I know most of them now. And I love to talk to them. They all hang out with the doorman downstairs, and it's a lot of fun. It makes you feel like you're part of a community. So now we're going into the entire apartment. So this is my living room, my bedroom, my dining room, and my desk area, my office. I mean, it's a small apartment, so I really have to make do and prioritize each space. But it works really well. I don't feel like it's that small. It really, it's like kind of compartmentalized, I suppose, so it works. So they're lithographs of fountains in Rome. So this woman on Facebook Marketplace was selling them for $50. And it was like a 20-something-year-old woman, and she was trying to get rid of her mother's stuff. And so she met me on the corner of like 65th and Park with them stacked up, and I gave her $50. And then I did some research on them afterwards, and they're worth quite a bit of money. So I recovered this chair as well myself, and this probably took me 20 minutes to do. I mean, it's not fancy in any way. It's not complicated, but I mean, I think it looks pretty nice. And it's a Schumacher fabric that I absolutely love. And it's kind of like the reason why I like it is because it's kind of a polka dot, but not really. It's a little like eye catty. And this chair, this came out of my basement in my childhood home, and I spray painted it during COVID in the backyard. So this etagere is actually based off of a French designer from the 50s, Maison Jansen, I think it's called. And I absolutely love it. It's a very good dupe of it, this actually was made in the 50s, but it was like a replica during that time. So I like to store all my books that I like to collect. I collect a lot of coffee table books and things like that, and little tchotchkes. And my friends always think these are so funny. We go out to dinner, and I have this like weird habit of swiping reserved signs. They have no purpose, and they're like this one is really disgusting, but I don't know why I love it. And this is just a little bust that I got at the Soane Museum in London. That's another place I love to shop for things, is museum stores. You can find really interesting things that you're not going to find anywhere else. Matches. Oh my gosh, I have so many matches. This is just like a small part of my collection. It's mainly because I love the designs of them, and I love looking at all the colors and the fonts and whatnot. But I also remember every single one I get, so it also is a nice way to, make memories more physical, I guess, and tangible. These are little blocks that this artist in Venice makes, and he actually makes these huge puzzle pieces. And I was there with my father just a few months ago, and he gave these to me actually, and they're all landmarks in Venice. So like this is La Fenice Opera House. So I actually found this sofa on Apartment Deco. It happened to be in a really great navy velvet fabric, so I decided to just make it work, and it was a perfect size too. And I added the fringe because the legs are really awful. So I love fringe anyway, so it worked out well. I didn't have a lot of space for big chairs or ottomans or anything like that. So the furniture is very proportionate to the apartment. The chairs are small. I have a little garden stool for sitting on and relatively small cocktail table. But it works really well, and it's actually perfect for entertaining just a small group of people. So this chair I found online for maybe $400, and I recovered it myself in a silk moire fabric I found online. And I wouldn't advise shopping online for fabric, but it sometimes works out, such as in this case. I love this fabric. You can't see at a distance, but it actually has like that moire wood grainy fabric texture. And then this is actually antique Japanese fabric that I had a woman online make into a pillow for me. And it turned out really well. I love it. And it's the type of chair too that I could take with me and have it completely redone at some point, which I love. I love having multiple lives to a piece of furniture. The pillows I had made in Turkey, and this one, like a woman in the Midwest made this for me. These are also both antique side tables that I found. My best friend actually found this one for me at an estate sale for $30, and it's actually a music box. So I'm using it right now as a side table, but if you take the lid up, it actually plays music, which is really fun. Which is actually kind of sad that I don't use it for this purpose because it's really fun, but I needed a side table, so it has this like great inlay on it, and then if you lift it up, it actually plays music. And it has a key too, so I mean, I could be stored my valuables in it. I actually really love living in a small space because I find it to be very cozy, and I actually love entertaining in a small space because it's very intimate, and I only like entertaining with a small group of people anyways, so it's actually a perfect fit. And I love to feel like I'm encapsulated in all of my stuff, and that it's just my own little space. I don't need a lot of space for myself. I'm one person, so it works out well for me. So now we can step into the bedroom, and this bed I've had for a really long time, and it's worked really well in every space. And I mean, it's nothing fancy or special. I'd love to have like a big, I don't know, big 4-poster bed with a canopy or something, but that's not ideal for the space. So I make it work, and I love it. This pillow's from Liberty in London. I love that, like the sort of Venetian marbleization of it. My desk, I kind of do everything at my desk. I do a lot of my artwork. I don't work from home anymore, but sometimes I do work here. I hated the hardware on here, so I just found this in an antique shop and replaced this, and then hung a tassel from it. Make it a little nicer. And then I have a lot of my sort of like pencils and pens and paintbrushes and things that I use, and I am an interior designer after all, so I have a measure, of course, a scale. So all of these containers that house my pens and pencils are actually candle holders, and I boil water after I'm finished with the candle and let the wax melt out and clean the jar out, and they're perfectly nice glass pieces. I don't want to get rid of them, especially the diptyque ones. They're so cute. So now we're going into my dining room, which obviously I'm only entertaining 2 people, I guess, or myself and one other person, which I actually don't do very often. I don't have dinner parties here because I don't really cook. But I also use this for work sometimes and doing artwork because it's a bigger space than my desk. So I have a lot of my like micron pens, a notebook, some books. Oh, and I love this little lamp. It turns on the bottom. It's practical, but it's also cute, so. And then I have this print here I absolutely adore. So I bought this over the summer in Lake Como. I was in Leno, which is a tiny town on the lake, and this old man was selling prints from newspapers and things for like the 20s and 30s. So I brought it back with me and had it framed. When I moved in here, there was absolutely no drapery, blinds, nothing. So I found this rod, and as far as like an inexpensive non-custom rod goes, I think this one's does the trick nicely. And then I found these at Restoration Hardware actually, which it's not ideal. I would love custom drapery, but not in the budget at the moment. And then to make them look a little bit more custom, I found this rickrack tape and just hot glued it on myself. So this is my Tibetan tiger rug. I had this made in India. I absolutely love him. Maybe he should have a name though. I haven't named him yet. I just like it does, I don't know, it's like a fun thing, and it's cozy to step out of bed onto a rug. So he's great. I love him. And then I have my dresser. This is an antique dresser that I found for I think like $300 or $400 and just cleaned it up a bit, and it's perfect. So I actually stole this from my office because I loved it so much. We got this from a vendor who specializes in plaster, and they sent us this as a sample of what they can do, but it's so beautiful. It has a little frog on it and lily pads, so I guess that's why we're missing plaster samples now from the office, but I love it. And then I have more of my matches, and to be a little like crunchy, I have my crystals here. And my shells. I actually found these. These are all from the river in the back of my house where I grew up. So now we are in my little kitchen, which does the trick because I don't do that much cooking anyways. Just enough to get me by and prep for parties. I don't have that much counter space, so I mean, it's really not my fault. But I actually really like this space. There's a few nice areas to, show my tchotchkes. My favorite part is actually the refrigerator. I kind of use it as a canvas, and I buy these clips on Amazon, and I absolutely love them. I'm always changing out what I have on here. I like to keep notes too that make me happy that people have sent me. And this is actually one of my drawings, which I did on just a loose piece of cardboard with a marker. Yeah, I keep a lot of this. My dad sent me a package once, and he just put this on an index card. He said, "Hi, Natalie," which I thought was so funny, and I don't know why. I've just kept it for years now. This girl here, I actually painted this with watercolor, and most of my art happens very randomly and it doesn't take me much time. This probably took me 20 minutes. And I really like her. So her hair is actually a bush or maybe a forest. I don't know. It's funny because I feel like my personal style is very different than what I do for my work. Usually when you're working with clients, it's very planned and it's very organized as much as it can be. But in my personal sense, it's far less so. I feel like I'm constantly finding things and just putting together what I love versus planning. And I don't like things in my own life to be too decorated or too planned or too perfect. I like a little bit of quirkiness and found objects, whether it's expensive or just found at a flea market, wherever it may be. I just like to collect my space and make it feel like something that was found rather than decorated. I find things all over the world, honestly. I will find things in some little junk shop in Greece or in a flea market in New York or on Cherish or eBay even. Sometimes I'm gifted things or I swipe things from a restaurant and I just, it makes its way into my apartment somehow, and everything that you find I feel like works itself in. So this is my first closet, which is bursting at the seams as storage is an issue here, but I thought I would show you a few of my fun things that I have. So this is probably my favorite hat that I own. It's like a lampshade basically. And I absolutely adore it. I think it's the most fun thing. So I collect little box purses, and particularly from this company called Dorset Rex. They were around in the 50s in New York, and I have been trying to grab as many of these up on eBay as I can because now people are catching on, so the prices are going up. But I love them because they're a fun woven metal, and they always have these lucite handles and lucite tops. And they're so much fun. I just adore them. I use them when I go out to parties. I use them with just jeans, running around on a weekend, something like that. I just adore them. Here's some of my other little antique bags. This one I found a random antique store outside of Chicago. And I absolutely adore it. It's little, it reminds me of a lunchbox. And some people ask me if it's my lunchbox. I'm like, yes. I absolutely carry my lunch around with me everywhere. And the fun part about it too is it has a little mirror in it, which I don't know if is very practical, but it's fun. And then this one, my best friend actually found this for me. And of course it doesn't hold a phone. It's really tiny, but I love it. So I'm actually lucky enough in this studio to have a dressing room, which is very convenient for me. So this is my little dressing room, which I actually do plan on wallpapering and hopefully fixing these ridiculous rental fixtures. But it's very functional and I love it in here. It's just like a little cozy space for me. I keep all my sort of getting ready things, my perfumes, lipsticks, jewelry, things like that. This mirror I love too. So this woman in Milwaukee. She was like married to this very world-renowned doctor, and when she passed, she had collected like a whole massive mansion of like amazing things from all over the world. And so I got this out of her house for like $20, and I absolutely love it. I don't know where it was from. There's no sort of like signifier or anything, but this woman, I think she was like 100 or maybe like 99 or something like that when she died. So she had amazing things throughout her house. I wish I would have bought everything, but obviously space is limited, so not practical. So what really draws me to found sort of estate sale items and antiques and things that belong to others are not only the quality and the uniqueness of the piece, but the story behind them. I really like the idea of almost like making up a life or a story for someone that previously owned this. Obviously, I didn't really know this woman that owned this mirror, but in my head, I have this idea of who she might have been, and I love carrying that with me. So this is one of my favorite pieces. I actually made this for a Kentucky Derby party. I didn't want to wear those like fascinator things, so I made this ostrich feather headband, and I absolutely adore it. It's so much fun. I actually wear this more often than you would think. It's really, I don't know, it always sparks a conversation too, which I love. So I love wearing fun earrings too. So I just have a few of my favorites out. These are little antique Chanel hats. They're clip-ons. They're incredibly painful to wear, but I love them. And then these are fish, which I actually don't have the hook on them right now, but they're like a fish on a hook. Home to me is a space that you feel comfortable to express yourself and be creative and explore all your kooky fascinations with hobbies and decorating and collecting, anything you want to do. I really struggle with the notion that homes need to feel always presentable and like they're a stage for other people when they're really your space to express yourself. And that's what makes me feel at home, is just feeling like I'm comfortable to do as I please, and it's not here for other people, even though it might be nice for them to look at. It's really my own.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.